welcome back to my channel, Beautiful Minutia. If you're new here, my name is Tiffany, and today I am doing the Count Your Blessings tag. This tag was originally created by Anne from In Search of Wonder, and I keep seeing it circulate around, and it just feels like this is the perfect time to do this. It's been a really long time since I have done a tag video, I think, but this just feels so appropriate to do the week of Thanksgiving to talk about the blessings that books have been and the gratitude that I have towards books in my life. My house is far from quiet right now. I'm doing some laundry and my daughter has a friend over, so this is probably not going to be the quietest or best sound quality video, but we're going with it because this is the only time I have to film. And my allergies are being crazy, so my voice is a little bit on the weird side as well. But again, we're going with it. So the first question is, count them one by one. Go ahead and try to count all of your books. And that would take me so long. I'm not gonna do it. So I actually have an app that I use to keep track of the books that I have on my shelves. And this helps me so that way when I am out shopping, I don't accidentally purchase a book that I already have and that has saved me so many times, but I know that I'm behind in it because I have donated quite a few books. And I also have my last batch of books I know I didn't scan in, and there might be some others that I haven't as well. So I know that that count is not accurate, but I do know that between my shelves, my daughter's shelves, and then all of our homeschooling books, that it is around 2,000 books. And that's not counting my husband's pastoral library, which I'm sure is well over 100 books. So we have a lot of books. I think the actual statistic is that in order to count something as a library, you have to have 1,000 or more books. And so our home library is truly a library, I guess. The next question is life-changing books. What are some books that changed you or profoundly impacted you in a positive way? And the most obvious answer is the Bible, but that feels a bit cliche, so I want to share some other books with you as well that have very greatly influenced me, although they're not as influential in my life as God's actual word. So the first book I want to talk about is If You Will Ask by Oswald Chambers. A lot of people know of Oswald Chambers, if they know of him at all, from his devotional book called My Utmost for His Highest, which has excerpts for every day of the year. This little teeny tiny book changed the way that I pray. So that's all what this is all about, is just prayer. And I highly recommend it. It's amazing. As you can see, I have marked it up, taken notes, lots of underlining. Like, this book profoundly changed the way that I viewed prayer and the way that I prayed in my life. I also wanted to mention my favorite nonfiction that I read last year that is a pretty popular book, so you've probably heard of it, and that's Atomic Habits by James Clear. This book revolutionized how I saw habit changes and trying to form new habits, because it talks very practically about small ways that you can implement new habits in ways that make sense. And I've always been an all or nothing kind of a person. So I get to a point in my life where I'm like, I want to change everything. And then I go and change everything. And then I burn out within 2 weeks. And it's never sustainable, the changes that I'm trying to implement. And the way James Clear talks about habits is that they're little tiny building blocks, like little atoms. And when I first got this book, I thought that he was going to be talking about like explosive changes. But as you can see, tiny changes, remarkable results. So I feel like this book is so helpful in the way that it reframed the way that I thought about habit changes. There are a lot of fiction books that I could share, but the one that I'm going to share is Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. I picked this up at a whim at the library like 6 years ago, before my BookTube channel, and was like, oh, I think I've heard of this book before. And it was the very first work of Russian literature that I'd ever picked up. And I fell hardcore in love. And if you've watched this channel for any length of time, you know I really love Russian literature, and all the time people ask me, well, how did you start reading Russian literature? Literally picked this book up on a whim. It made me cry, it made me think deeply. It's so good. I know so many people don't like the epilogue or feel like the epilogue is kind of tacked on there, but for me, the epilogue makes the story so special and so meaningful, especially as Dostoevsky was a person that his faith meant so much to him, and that is very much reflected in the epilogue. And then as a Christian myself, it makes the epilogue really meaningful for me. So I absolutely love this book. and I've read it multiple times, marked it up, all kinds of stuff. I'm about due for a reread though, I think. Question number 3 is special editions. What are some editions and copies that you really love? Or is there a book that is very valuable to you for sentimental reasons? So I have a couple of editions I'm going to share with you that I just love how the editions are, and then I have a sentimental book that I'm going to share with you. So first of all, I have this adorable tiny little box set of The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. I got this from my mother-in-law for Christmas a couple of years ago, and I just love them. They are very small, obviously, so the print is really tiny, which doesn't bother me at all. And I just love them. They're so like portable and adorable, and I just love kind of these like autumnal type colors of it. I just love it so much. This is like my favorite edition of Lord of the Rings, and I do have it in multiple editions. I also want to share this edition of Little Women. I have Pride and Prejudice in the same edition. This is the Marjolaine Baston edition. So it has her beautiful, beautiful illustrations throughout. Like, I mean, just so gorgeous. And that's something that I really, really love about it, is I just think it is truly, truly lovely. But in addition to that, there are all kinds of things tucked within the pages. So for example, here's a letter from Mr. March to his family when he was in the war, and then you've got a map of Massachusetts at the time. There's a picture in here of what the first edition of Little Women looked like. I know there's a little leaflet in here with the Pickwick Portfolio, which is the newspaper that the sisters published together, and Pride and Prejudice, you know, has like letters from Mr. Darcy. It has a map of Pemberley, you know, different things like that. And so these editions are just gorgeous, and I love all the interesting things they have tucked in there. They also have a ribbon bookmarker. I just think that they are so, so lovely. I think that she has 6 books out right now in this edition, or I mean, they don't all look the same, but they all have her artwork and have those special things tucked in it. And there are multiple of those. I really want the Jane Eyre one also, and I know there's Wuthering Heights, and I think that there's a couple others. She's been coming out with quite a few of them. This one just came out last year, and I love them so much. I have some different sentimental books as well, but the most sentimental books I have are these. These are some John Steinbeck's, and these were my grandfather's. So they're really, really special. He had a lot of different works of literature, and I was lucky enough to end up with these, and I just love them. They're really special because they came from him. I think they might be first editions as well, but I'm not totally sure on that. I haven't done the due diligence. I was told they were first editions. I don't know if they actually are, but they're so special and they make me very happy. Question number 4 is gifted books. Books you love that others have gifted you. And I am so fortunate. I have so many books that I love that have been gifted to me. In fact, both that edition of Little Women and The Lord of the Rings were gifted to me. So Lord of the Rings by my mother-in-law, and actually the Pride and Prejudice Marjolaine Baston book was also gifted to me by my mother-in-law. And then Little Women was gifted to me from a subscriber, and I have gotten so many books from you all or from family members over the years that have been so special. So it's really difficult to choose which ones are the most special. This one is also nostalgic as well. So I have this complete collection of Edgar Allan Poe. So this has all of his works, including poetry, including, I mean, you think of him, you think of like mystery and horror, but he wrote fantasy and like all kinds of other stuff, and that is all in here. This exact copy with its very tattered dust jacket actually was my older sister's, and I borrowed it from her when I was about 12 and started reading Edgar Allan Poe, and I borrowed it from her so many times that a couple of years ago for Christmas, she just gave it to me because I borrowed it from her so many times. So this is something that's special and also nostalgic. And then I also wanted to mention my dear friend Christy Lewis from Dostoevsky in Space has gifted me both Wise Blood and The Violent Bear It Away from Flannery O'Connor. This was for Christmas last year. This was for my birthday this year. And the reason why this is really notable is that because of Christy, Flannery O'Connor is one of my favorite authors. Because of her, I ordered a copy of Everything That Rises Must Converge, and I read that for my first Flannery O January a couple of years ago, and then we read Wise Blood last year for Flannery O January, and I'm definitely reading this year for Flannery O January, and it's because of Christy that I love Flannery O January, so I had to share these as well. Just know that to every single one of you who have ever gifted me a book, whether it's been something from my wish list or something that you thought that I would enjoy that you really loved, or anything that any of you have ever sent me, has been so special, and I have greatly appreciated every single thing. And if I shared every gift I had gotten since I started my YouTube channel, we would be here for a really long time. So just know that it is so deeply appreciated anytime any of you sends me anything at all. Question number 5 is the blessing of the book. How has reading benefited you in your life, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, etc.? Oh my goodness, I can't even begin to describe the impact that reading has had on my life. Reading has been a mainstay in my life since I was very tiny, and my parents started reading to me. And I started reading on my own before I even reached kindergarten, because I was so obsessed with books that I just started picking up things. And it has been kind of like the mainstay in my life. I've had other hobbies come and go, or that I'm into them at this point, maybe not as into them at this point. And reading has always been there and always been something that I've loved. Sometimes I've gone through phases where I'm mostly reading nonfiction and just kind of trying to focus on certain things. And then a lot of my life has been fiction reading, but I've been kind of all over the place with my reading in all different genres, and that's helped me grow so much as a person. Sometimes I read books that have helped me escape in very difficult times in my life, and times where I'm really stressed out. Sometimes reading is the thing that gets me through that. Sometimes I read books that are really difficult to read and don't come easy to me, but I feel like I've gained so much information and learned so much. I think that I've read so many books about experiences and lives that are so very different from my own, that have helped me to see things from a different viewpoint and be more empathetic towards others and care about others more. And so there are so many different reasons why I read. There's not just one reason. And so as a result, there's not just one way that reading has blessed me. There's so many different ways. And when I count up my blessings, when I think of, being grateful, Thanksgiving, and counting your blessings, obviously I count my spiritual blessings, I count my physical blessings, I count my family. But when I sit there and really think about all the things that I'm grateful for, books always make the list. Question number 6 is friends, the greatest blessing. Do you have in real life friends that love to talk books with you? So for my whole life, my older sister is very much a bookworm, and my dad is very much a bookworm. And so for a lot of my life, I have spent a lot of time discussing books with them. And if you have been watching my channel for any length of time, you've probably heard me talk many times about how my dad was the one who introduced a love of classics to me, particularly Victorian classics. He read my first Victorian classic to me when I was 10, I think, or 11. So I have loved classics for my entire life, thanks to my dad. So I've always had them. But throughout my life, I've never really had anybody in real life who is a friend, not just a family member, but like a friend that I have had a connection over books with until recently. And one of them has a YouTube channel, so I'm going to shout her out to. My dear friend Whitney Drew is an in real life friend, and she does have a BookTube channel that she started earlier this year. And we started talking because I saw her reading, I think, a Brandon Sanderson book one day before co-op, and we just started talking. We both attend the same homeschool group, and we just started talking. We started talking about Brandon Sanderson. And so this year, we have spent a lot of this year reading a lot of Cosmere books together, and that has been so much fun. And then we started an in-person book club, which I have never been a part of that before. And so that was so exciting and so fun for other homeschool moms in our homeschool group, and that has been amazing. We've read a variety of books, some of which I never would have picked up on my own, some of which I've loved, some of which have been okay, but it's been amazing. Like, it has been so cool. And some of us this summer, we actually went book shopping together at McKay's. And as you may know, that is like my favorite place to go book shopping, but it's a couple hours away. So we don't go super frequently. We go a few times a year for sure. But it was really cool to go together with them. And now we're talking about how we would love to take a book club outing to go to McKay's together, all of us. So we may do that at some point, but it's just really exciting to have friends in my real life that we get together during our homeschool group and we're chatting and we're almost always talking about books, and it's just so cool. I love it so much. It's been such a gift and an unexpected blessing in my life that I was not looking for and I got. And of course, there's all of you. I know this is asking about in real life friends, but there's all of you. I started this BookTube channel because I was reading books that no one in my real life was reading. And so I'm like, I'm gonna start a channel and I'm gonna start talking about this. And there are so many of you who have subscribed to me over the past couple of years. And you comment on one of my videos or every single video or somewhere in between, chatting with me about books that you think are interesting, and you are like talking about my thoughts on it, or maybe you've read them too, and so you're talking to me or you're recommending books to me. And so this channel has been such a huge blessing to me at a time when I didn't have anyone in my life who was reading the same books as me. And I have since developed very close friendships with some other YouTubers and also some of my subscribers as well. And that has been so special because that is something that I didn't think would come of this. I just wanted to be able to talk to somebody about the books that I was reading and be able to like express my thoughts about them. And I was like throwing myself out there onto the great wide world wide web. Said that backwards. Not knowing if anyone would actually ever watch my videos. And so it's so cool. Every time I'm so excited when I see your comments and I get to talk to you about books. The last part of the last question is to shout out some of your favorite booktubers and tag them to do this tag. I have seen this going around all over the place. So there's a lot of people who have done this tag, but there's a few people that I very consistently buddy read with who have BookTube channels. And so I'm gonna shout them out. And if you've already done this tag, don't worry about it. Just know that I love buddy reading with you, and that's why I'm tagging you. So the first one who comes to mind is Christy Lewis from Dostoevsky in Space, and then Victoria from A Musical Bookworm, and then Dia from Novel Idea, who I do believe has been tagged and probably has also done this video. I feel like I've seen her do it. Sandy from Miss Reads a Lot, and Chrissy from Chrissy's Purple Library are all people that I have just really loved reading with this year. And I'm sure there are others as well that I'm forgetting. So if you are interested in doing this tag, consider yourself tagged. Feel free to share your answers in the comments down below. I always have the questions linked in the description of the video. So that way, if you want to reference back, if you want to share with me some special books that you have, or the blessing that reading has been for you, or, you know, any of these questions, I would love to hear your answers. I always love chatting with you guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please hit like and also subscribe so you can continue to see more bookish content from me. Now I will see you again next time.